Listen, what went down on NBA Today regarding Al Horford's introduction to the Warriors is going to completely reframe how you think about Golden State's championship ceiling this season. And I'm not talking about some feel-good veteran signing that makes the roster slightly better on paper. We're talking about a 39-year-old future Hall of Famer who just told reporters he's genuinely excited to finally be on the same side of the court as Steph Curry, instead of having to chase him around and contest his shots. And when you hear that kind of authentic enthusiasm from a player who's seen everything in this league, it tells you something real about both Horford's competitive drive and what he believes this Warriors team can actually accomplish. When Malika Andrews brought in Anthony Slater live from Chase Center with that gorgeous Bay Area backdrop, and Slater started breaking down how Horford is already seamlessly integrating into Steve Kerr's system after working with Jimmy Butler at that San Diego camp, I had to pause because this isn't just depth addition or veteran insurance. This is a legitimate starting caliber center who solves multiple problems simultaneously. Hey Warriors fans, if you're following along with this analysis, I have a dream to hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel. It would be incredible to have you on this journey with me. Go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's grow together. Your subscription means the world to me and the future of this channel. Now, let's keep going, because there's still so much more to discuss. So I'm watching NBA Today as they're setting up their Warriors training camp coverage, and suddenly the entire conversation shifts from typical preseason roster talk to this deeper examination of whether Golden State just became legitimate championship contenders again by adding one 39-year-old big man to their rotation. You could feel Malika's genuine curiosity about whether age is just a number, or whether it's a legitimate concern when your projected starting five could feature 5 players over 35 years old on opening night, which would make them only the second team to accomplish that feat since the 2011-12 Mavericks. The panel was wrestling with this tension between respecting veteran experience and wisdom versus acknowledging that Father Time remains undefeated in professional sports. Let me paint you the complete picture of what really transpired during this segment, because the surface-level Warriors sign another veteran headline completely misses the psychological component of what Horford brings, the schematic flexibility his skill set provides, the financial implications of using the taxpayer mid-level exception, which hard caps them at the second apron, and most importantly, whether this roster construction philosophy of surrounding Curry with experienced, championship-level talent gives them a realistic path to competing with younger, more athletic teams like Oklahoma City. This is about organizational identity, and whether the Warriors are building a team that can actually win 16 playoff games, or whether they're just extending Steph's career with respectable regular season success that ultimately falls short when the competition intensifies in April and May. Here's what had the entire panel genuinely excited during Horford's introductory comments, and you could hear the authenticity in his voice when he talked about finally getting to play alongside Curry instead of against him. Horford said he's thrilled to be on the floor with Steph and not have to chase him around trying to contest his shot. That being on the same side is something special for him, and that he's going to try to take advantage of this opportunity by learning from Curry and Draymond Green as much as possible. He talked about how Steph sees the game in an incredible way, and how he plans to follow suit and lean on both Curry and Draymond to show him the way within Golden State's system. What struck me about those comments is the humility and genuine respect from a player who's been to multiple finals, who's won championships, who's been an all-star, but who still recognizes that playing with Steph Curry is a unique opportunity that requires him to adapt and learn, rather than just showing up and doing what he's always done. That mindset from a 39-year-old is exactly what championship teams need. Veterans who check their ego at the door and prioritize winning over individual recognition. Anthony Slater's reporting from Chase Center provided crucial context about how quickly Horford is integrating into the team, and this is where you see the Warriors' front office planning paying off. Slater mentioned that Horford didn't contemplate retirement this summer despite being 39 years old, that he actually signed a 2-year deal showing real commitment to this project. And most importantly, that he was already in San Diego for that camp with Jimmy Butler before training camp even started. They're calling the fit seamless, which makes sense when you think about how Horford's skill set aligns perfectly with what Steve Kerr needs. A stretch 5 who can shoot from the perimeter to create spacing. A high IQ passer who can facilitate from the elbow or the top of the key. A switchable defender who can guard multiple positions despite his age. And a veteran presence who understands how to play winning basketball in high-pressure situations. But here's where Slater's reporting got really interesting, and this is something that casual fans might not realize about the Jonathan Kuminga contract negotiations and how they intersected with the Horford signing. The Warriors, using the taxpayer mid-level exception on Horford, hard-capped them at the second apron, which created significant salary cap complications for how much they could offer Kuminga in his extension talks. Yet according to Slater, even Kuminga's side of the negotiation thought the Horford signing was great, because having a stretch 5 who can shoot the ball is going to help every lineup on the roster, including the lineups that feature Kuminga. One of Kuminga's biggest issues throughout his career has been lack of spacing when he's on the floor. When you've got a non-shooting center clogging the paint, it makes Kuminga's drives to the basket significantly harder because help defenders can load up without worrying about giving up open threes. But with Horford stretching the floor to the three-point line, suddenly Kuminga has more room to operate, more driving lanes to attack, more opportunities to use his athleticism rather than fighting through crowds. Steve Kerr and the coaching staff are apparently very interested in exploring lineups that feature both Horford and Kuminga together specifically because of that spacing dynamic. The age discussion became unavoidable at this point in the segment, and Malika was asking the question everyone's thinking. With Al Horford potentially in the starting lineup, Golden State could start 5 players over 35 years old on opening night: Horford, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Buddy Hield. That would make them only the second team since those 2011-12 Mavericks to have 5 starters that old at the beginning of a season. So given that reality, how confident should we be that this Warriors team can actually fulfill their championship aspiration? The panel's response revealed the inherent tension in evaluating this roster, and I thought the analysis was really balanced and thoughtful rather than just hot takes for engagement. The consensus seemed to be that whenever you have Stephen Curry on your roster, you're always in the mix for a championship, regardless of the age of your surrounding cast. The Warriors went 23-8 after trading for Jimmy Butler in the second half of last season, and that sample size suggests this core group can play elite basketball when healthy and engaged. We'll never know how far they could have gone in the playoffs if Curry hadn't gotten hurt against Minnesota. Maybe they beat the Timberwolves. Maybe they make a deep run. Maybe they fall short anyway. But the point is, the talent is there to compete. When you look at the off-season additions and subtractions, Golden State essentially added Al Horford, while losing Kevon Looney, brought in Seth Curry to provide more shooting, welcomed back DeAnthony Melton from his ACL injury, and kept Jonathan Kuminga after what could have been a contentious negotiation. The bench got better, the spacing improved, the veteran leadership increased, and the overall roster construction seems more coherent than what they had heading into last season. But here's where the reality check comes in, and this is what separates honest analysis from blind optimism. Are the Warriors in Oklahoma City Thunder territory as far as championship favorites go? Absolutely not. The Thunder are younger, more athletic, have more two-way talent across the roster, and are probably the prohibitive favorites to come out of the Western Conference. But are the Warriors in the mix with the rest of the contending teams in the West? Yes. Can they beat Denver in a 7-game series? Maybe. Can they match up with the Lakers, or the Mavericks, or the Suns? Possibly. The path to a championship exists, even if it requires everything breaking right. Here's what really emerged from the entire NBA Today coverage that I think captures the essence of where the Warriors are. Health is going to determine everything for this roster. When you're running out a starting 5 that averages over 35 years old, you cannot afford to have guys miss significant time or play through injuries that compromise their effectiveness. The seasoned roster needs to be managed carefully throughout the regular season, which means strategic rest, load management, and prioritizing playoff health over regular season seeding. If they can keep everyone fresh and healthy heading into April, they've got a legitimate shot at making noise. If the injury bug hits like it did during the Minnesota series, when Curry went down, this whole thing falls apart quickly. That's the brutal reality of championship basketball in your late 30s.